So you're probably wondering, how on earth do I actually get to the point where I love my physique, to the point where I have so much muscle, I have so much definition, I have the abs, I have the vascularity, I'm lean and I look good, I love the way I look in the mirror. How long does that actually take? So the truth is, it can take as long as it needs to, or you can do it the right way and you can do it as quick as possible. And really, it can be done within the space of 3 years, if I'm being completely honest. That's coming from experience. Now, this is coming from someone who has trained in a gym for 6 years. I've personally done it the wrong way, which is completely understandable. No one's going to get it right the first time. That's, how things work. You make mistakes, you learn, you figure out, and eventually by just relentless consistency, you get to your goal and you figure it out. I'm kind of at that point. I believe, to be honest with you, by the time it gets to around March, April next year, I will have kind of been pretty much happy with my physique, because I've done a few gaining phases and I'm going to have done one last diet, and then I'll pretty much, for my kind of body weight and height, have as much muscle as I really need. To be honest with you, I'll be 72 kilogram at 5'8", and really at 5'8", you're not really going to be pushing into 80 kilogram or more unless you're taking steroids. So for the natural physique, that's kind of really where I've kind of hit my limit. You can keep training over the next 5-10 years and definitely build some more muscle, but personally, I think I'm going to shift into the calisthenics and maybe, martial arts, Muay Thai, boxing, all of that, just kind of focus on a bit of other stuff. And I believe I'm pretty happy with my physique. Now, it took me 6 to 7 years to essentially get to where I am. However, knowing what I know now, I could 100% do it in 3 years. Because at the end of the day, when you first start, you just fuck around. Right? You go to the gym, you lift up whatever weights you see, try and up your bench press with no actual proper form. You don't really eat properly, you don't track your calories, you just eat everything. And yeah, it's important. At the end of the day, that's kind of what makes the gym fun. You're just fucking around. I think if you came in it with a relentless execution and you treated it very seriously from the get-go, it wouldn't be as fun, to be honest with you. I think everyone needs to go for that phase where they just smash pre-workout, listen to some fucking hard style, whatever it is, some aggressive drum and bass, and just smash bench press 4 or 5 times a week. I think that's a necessary phase you have to go through. But to be honest with you, from someone who started at 55 kilogram at 5'8", so sitting at around 79 kilogram today, having gone through diets, gone through bulks, through cuts, I've figured out kind of what it takes in order to build a proper physique. And I'm going to give you the blueprint here and pretty much walk you through the exact timeline. So let's take someone who's just starting in the gym, right? If you're someone who's just starting in the gym, I'll explain this for that person, for someone who's just starting. So if that's you, you're welcome. And for someone who's also been in the gym for 2 or 3 years and just wants a clean slate and wants to pretty much get to the desired goal ASAP. Because I know the desired goal, by the way. The desired goal everyone wants, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a load of fucking muscle whilst looking lean. No one wants to look like a jacked bodybuilder. It's funny, everyone says they don't want to get massive. It's fucking easy to get massive. Trust me, you won't get massive. The amount of people who have jumped on calls with me saying, oh yeah, I want to look lean, I want to look toned, but I don't want to look massive. I was like, well, trust me, you ain't gonna fucking trip over and look massive. It takes hard work. So I think what most people watching this want, is a nice lean defined physique with a good chest, good arms, good proportions, good legs, good back, some definition, some vascularity. I think everyone wants that, right? So how do you get to that situation? Now, if you're just starting out and you're fresh in the gym, well, you're gonna need to put on some muscle, very, very simply. Now, if you are just starting out, you're gonna need to put yourself in a calorie surplus to essentially gain more muscle. There is only one caveat. If you're someone who started with a load of body fat, and if you're above 18% body fat, if you cannot see your abs, then I encourage you to focus on being in a calorie deficit, to bring yourself to a point where you're around 10% or below, where you can see your abs, and then you're from a low position of body fat. Because if you enter a calorie surplus from a high position of body fat, you will find that the food partitioning is not very anabolic. You essentially do not use the food very well. The surplus calories do not go towards muscle growth. They really just get stored as fat, which then just create this kind of recurring problem, this recurring cycle of just gaining more fat for you to diet down. So really, if you want a sustainable surplus, then really it makes sense to just kind of diet down. Now, if you are in that position of 10% body fat, your goal is to basically enter a very, very small surplus. And the way you track this and make sure that you do this properly, right, is just track your weight every single day. Listen to what I'm saying very carefully. It's so easy. It's so simple, but it's not easy to follow. You have to do this bang on. Track your weight daily. That was the biggest mistake I made. I only tracked myself weekly and I didn't take it seriously. I just weighed myself at the gym with my shoes on after eating loads and drinking loads of water, so the weight was never accurate. If I had known what I know now, I would track my weight every single morning without fail, fasted, after going to the toilet. And that would give me the most accurate reading every single day. And then in a position of low body fat at 10%, I would aim for 0.6 kilogram per week. Because I know if I'm aiming for 0.6 kilogram, I'm gaining muscle with very, very minimal fat. And I would rinse that for as long as possible. So your goal is to gain 0.6 per week, 0.6 kilogram, around a pound, 1.2 pounds, okay? Your job then is to basically keep your nutrition the same, don't amend your nutrition, and get really good at training as quick as possible. If you want to get really good at training, you have to do everything more. Think of training as a skill. The reason I'm potentially where I am now after 7 years is because I've done every single exercise so many times that I just figured out kind of how to do things. So you want to get to that as quickly as possible. Do the split that allows you to do everything multiple times. What is that? Full body. So if you were starting out, whether you like it or not, do full body 4 times per week. Why? Because if you think about it, if you've never trained your legs and you start training your legs 4 times per week, over the course of a month, you've trained your legs 16 times. And then you multiply that by, let's say, 10, 12 months. That's 160 fucking leg sessions, as opposed to the guy who trains their legs once per week. He'll have 12 sessions. Who the fuck's gonna have bigger legs? And you start to think about it like that, you will understand exactly how this game works. So remember, it's just volume. Volume negates luck. You will essentially get much better at any sort of skill if you do it more. So you wanna basically be training full body for at least a year, 2 years if you're just starting, and get really, really proficient with the movements, get really, really good at it. And make sure, point number 2, you're tracking all of your weights. You're making sure that you're pretty much aiming to increase the weight and the reps every single week. And you're doing so with good form. If you want to take this a step further, get a coach to help you, or even record your videos and watch them back and make sure that you're doing everything by the book. Ideally, you're watching YouTube videos and you're understanding that if we're doing a bench press, we don't just go like that. We really, really focus on bringing the elbows under the wrists and slowing it down. 1, 2, 3, pausing in that shortened position, exploding up, not coming to here, but fully extending, getting the full range of motion with the lightest amount of weight, getting that foundation, and then progressing upon that. The reason why a lot of people waste time is because they just feed their ego and they just chuck on a load of weight, but really they didn't maximize the form before they added the weight. So yeah, they're still gonna make more progress with extra weight, but they would have made way more progress had they had 10 out of 10 form with lower weight, if that makes sense. You can keep progressing the weight with 7 out of 10 form and you'll make more progress. But if you wanna really, really set yourself up for the fastest way to build a solid physique, to get jacked, then really you need to focus on getting 10 out of 10 form. And that's what that full body split allows you to do. So really, really focus on that. And make sure that you track your weights and you're getting stronger. If you get stronger just through training and you keep your nutrition pretty much at a standstill, keeping it around maintenance calories, which you can check via TDE calculator, you should gain weight every single week without fail, without even moving the nutrition. The calories stay the same and you will probably gain 0.6 each week. Why? Because you're so new to weight training, resistance training, that the new stimulus is essentially going to cause adaptation to occur every single week. And that adaptation is muscle growth. 0.6 kilogram, that should happen like clockwork. The big mistake people make is they essentially don't see the progress they want and then they up the calories and they don't listen to what I just said about the training. They don't try and improve their training. If you improve the training first and you maximize that, you maximize the training, you squeeze the juice out of the lemon that is training, then you can think about adding some extra carbohydrates. You don't add calories, you add carbohydrates. Why? Because the carbohydrates fuel performance. They make sure you can lift more. And if you can lift more, you get stronger. And if you get stronger, you build more muscle. That is why a calorie surplus is beneficial. It gives you more energy. It allows you to have more fuel to create new mass. You don't just eat more calories and gain more. The big mistake people make is they eat more, see the weight go up and think, I'm making progress. Well, nah, maybe you're just gaining fat. Like at the end of the day, if you didn't train in the gym and you ate more food, your weight would go up more than 0.6 kilogram per week. And that's a big thing that people don't realize. They just take the easy route and then just think, that's progress. No, it isn't. That's just lying to yourself. So make sure that you maximize your training. Training intensity is the core pillar of muscle growth. Nutrition and recovery, equally as important, but without training intensity, nothing happens. You have to break down the muscle fibers before you can even think about rebuilding them via nutrition and recovery methods, right? So think about that, okay? Your goal is then to basically rinse and repeat that process, constantly getting better at training, constantly upping the calories when you hit plateaus, aiming for that 0.6 per week for a year, 2 years, as long as it takes, till you build a substantial amount of muscle. And the people who do this right stay as lean as possible for as long as possible. Why? Because they keep the discipline, they keep the 0.6 strategy, they only up the calories once they've maximized training performance, and they make sure that they're consistently reviewing their physique. There are times after 6 months where you can potentially do a little cleanup phase. You can bring the calories down. You can perhaps do a little bit of a calorie deficit just to clean up some fat. I would highly recommend that at times, but that should be 4 weeks max. You should spend the majority of your time in the first 2 years building up as much muscle as possible. If you do that for 2 years and you get stronger and you follow that full body split, you will build a shit ton of muscle very, very fast. But the core principle that we need to remember is it comes down to not comparing yourself to other people and understanding that obviously the grass is greener on the other side. You may look at someone who's lean and think, I want to be like him, I'm going to cut. And that's what gets people. You always want what you can't have. But you need to understand you are not them. They are further ahead than you. And if you want to get to where they are as quick as possible, you need to spend a prolonged period of time in a situation where you are uncomfortable. And that is a 2-year gaining phase. It's not fun, but it's necessary. Because let's break it down. If you were to diet after 1 year of training because you want to get your abs, you wouldn't have enough muscle to do so. And the reward wouldn't be very fun, because when you get truly lean, when you get to 6 to 7% body fat, you reveal how much muscle you really have. You can't hide behind fat, and you'll find that you really just look skinny as fuck. So it just makes sense to build as much muscle. So when you do come down, you look jacked, you look ripped, as opposed to just skinny and shredded. So make sure you commit to that. Understand that. It's a key thing to remember. Like, I'm in that situation at the moment. If I look at my physique at the moment, I'm carrying a little bit of body fat, but I'm in a gaining phase, and my main goal is to build as much muscle as possible. It'd be very easy for me to just go, and I thought about it, to just go into a diet, get lean. You know, I'm in Thailand where there's a lot of beaches, there's a lot of people who are lean. I'd like to be lean as well on the beach, but I understand that it's okay. I have to just sacrifice this 6, 7, 8 months, because in the near future, the proof will be there. What I've built will be undeniable, because when I get lean, you will see how much bigger I was than when I was lean before. And that's the way you got to think. I could easily compare myself to all the other people who are lean and say, I want to be like them. But that's not how it works. You need to focus on yourself. So that's a really, really core principle you need to understand. Now, if you do that, if you successfully get to that stage, which most people don't, of 2 years, just training, biting your tongue, and just consistently pushing with a few cleanups here and there, with the main core emphasis of just building as much muscle as possible, then you earn the right to diet. Because now you've built up so much muscle, it makes sense for us to see what we've actually built. Let's see how much muscle we've built. And then you get to a point where you diet down. You then basically reverse into a calorie deficit. You slowly bring your calories down, you up your cardio, you aim for 0.5 to 1 kilogram of fat loss per week. You do the same thing. You make sure that you're using cardio as a tool. You're not just rinsing your calories. I've got a separate video on how to actually get lean. I will make more if you need. If you do want more of those videos, please do drop them below. But obviously going into winter, I know that's probably not the best video to make right now, unless you're from Australia. If you do want that video, let me know. Then you focus on getting lean. And really, if you've done this right, it should be no more than 4 months. A diet should be no more than 4 months. Otherwise, you fucked up in the gaining phase. How have you accrued so much fat that it takes 6 to 8 months to diet? That's something wrong. And that's where you need to be consistently reviewing yourself. That's why you might even need a coach. So, link in bio. But you want to review your physique every single week and make sure that you're not gaining too much fat, because then it just makes up for a really, really easy diet. And then once you do that diet after 2 years of gaining, you will be very, very happy with your physique. You will look jacked, 100%, regardless of your genetics. Everyone says genetics. No, it's just how you do things properly. If you're actually training with perfect form, if you really focus on tempo and accuracy, if you really focus on progressing your lifts every single week, you track everything, and you make sure your nutrition is always on the money, and you do everything I just said, you will build a shit ton of muscle. And if you follow the diet, as I've outlined in loads of other videos, and you do exactly that, then you will lose the fat, and you will be greeted with a physique that is muscular, vascular, ripped, jacked, with a big fucking chest, big arms, big legs, and essentially you'll be very happy with your physique. Now that's 2 years in. Then, in my opinion, what will happen is if you get to 6 to 7% body fat, you will notice your genetic gifts and your weaknesses. Everyone has a muscle group that they're kind of gifted in. I think mine's my chest and my back. I haven't got great legs. So right now the focus of my bulk is the legs. And you might find that when you do that diet, your chest or your arms aren't where they need to be. So maybe it makes sense to go into one more off season, one more gaining phase, so focus on them. And by the time you focus on them and you've really, really brought the proportions and you diet once more, which should amass a total time of 3 years, you should be pretty happy with your physique to the point where you're like, oh, fuck it, well, I can keep doing this and maintaining for the rest of my life. Maybe I can go into other aspects, or I can continue just slowly building the physique further. Or perhaps, I don't know, you want to go down another route and take anabolic steroids. Maybe that's the case. But really, that's the 3-year blueprint on how you get as jacked as possible and look your best. And it should only take 3 years. The reason it takes longer is because no one does any of the stuff I just said. So I just put it on a plate for you. It's simple, it's not easy, but you can write it down in some simple steps, and all you have to do is follow them. Like with most things, it ain't complicated. You just have to do the basics consistently over and over again, get someone to keep you accountable, stay motivated, do it regardless of how you feel. And if you do that, you get the results. That's all you got to do. 3 years. Took me 6. If I started again, it would take me 3 years. And if you're someone, by the way, who has been in the gym for a while, if you're not from zero and you want to get to that phase, then you've got a head start. You've probably built some muscle. All you have to do now is just do exactly what I said with being in a position of strength. You've got a head start. All you need to do now is simply just diet down to 10% body fat or lower. The lower you go, the better this means, because you can obviously stay in the gaining phase for longer, and then just enter a gaining phase for as long as possible until you feel like you've built enough muscle, 6 to 8 months. Diet down, see what we're looking at, and then go again. Do that twice and you should be good. But if you do it properly, you're good to go. That's what I'd say. That's what you need to do. That's how long it takes. You follow that, you're in a very good position. Any questions, let me know. Other than that, I will leave you guys to it.